Orange Magic. This is one of those films that just came out of nowhere without anybody realizing it, mostly by the way that the movie was announced just 2 months before its release. It kind of makes it feel pretty sudden, and I still feel like I just heard about this movie. But what makes this more interesting is the fact that it came from the mind of George Lucas and his studio Lucasfilms. I mean, how is this not getting much attention when it came from one of the biggest names in Hollywood? You'd think that would be the perfect marketing opportunity right there, like from the mind that brought you Star Wars or something. But when we look into the film itself, is it able to bring us into a new world that we want to go into like Star Wars? Or does the magic act more like a curse? Let's find out. The story. The one important thing to note about the story is that it's all about true love. What is it? What are its trials and tribulations? Where to find it? How do you know that the person is the right one? And so much more questions answered here that just makes you want to jump out of your seat and scream, "I can't take it anymore!" This movie tries so desperately hard to hammer this love notion in a way that's so cliched and absolutely monotonous. It checks out every single stereotypical trope you can ever think of, making it so predictable from beginning to end. But that's not all. You know what's worse than a very predictable story? A very predictable story that feels like it's dragging on to make it feel like it's taking forever. And the way that they try to extend these scenes is with musical numbers. Yep! This movie is also a jukebox musical, which, by the way, I won't talk about the songs separately since they weren't made for the movie. But I will say that, unlike Happy Feet, where they put in an interesting twist to the songs, they're all pop rock versions of random songs that makes you more baffled about the fact that they're using these songs and suck out any likability in them.
Don't worry.
Maybe he thinks I'm too perky.
About a thing.
Or dance funny.
Cause every little thing, it's gonna be alright.
Or my hair's too poofy.
Don't you worry.
And there's just so many of them that you'll feel like a goblin pleading the movie to stop singing. And if you don't think you can handle that, good luck trying to follow the story with all these different side plots that makes the film absolutely confusing. It's hard enough to swallow Marianne's adventures, but then you have to add in the perspective of Bog King, Sunny, Dawn, Roland, and more, and it just adds in more to the giant mess that it already is. It's moments like this that I realize that this is also coming from the same man that brought us Jar Jar Binks and this. The animation. I don't want to lie, there's this part of me that doesn't want to hate the animation because technically it does look fantastic. You can really tell that these are some of the top animators in the industry with the way that they put in so much detail into everything. From all the plants, to the skin of the characters, to the nice looking designs and very solid character animation, this is the crew that anyone would wish to have in order to make a beautifully looking animated feature. So what's holding it back? Well, they did execute it the best way they can, but the concept of the overall look is just so bland. The whole world it's set in is just your generic tiny enchanted forest filled with fairies, elves, goblins that's absolutely no different than what you'd find in something like Fern Gully or Blue Sky's Epic. What's even worse is they would even rip off plenty of elements from the latter, including the pale flesh tones of the villains, the leaf armor of the fairies, the woodland creatures as their steed, and the many different inhabitants of the forest. There's unfortunately nothing original to be found here. And then there comes the musical numbers. Like I said before, they're really not enjoyable to watch and the animation doesn't really help. For most of the songs, all the characters do is fly around one another, which looks nice at first, but then afterwards it just gets repetitive fast. It may seem as some very nice looking unoriginal animation, but it's not as engaging if it's still completely unoriginal. The characters. With a movie that's as badly written as this, don't expect to find any complex or unique characters here. Each and every single one fits the bill in a one-dimensional trope you'd find in these type of movies. You got Marianne, who is the heartbroken girl that wants to prove that she's independent and don't need no man. Or does she? Maybe she does! Woo! There's Dawn, who might as well be a nymph by how horny she is. Sunny is the best friend of Dawn that has a huge crush on her. Griselda is Bog King's mom that wants to find him a wife. Bog King himself is the evil ruler of the dark forest that hates love for obvious reasons. But he's actually not the antagonist. That would be Roland, the Gaston-type misogynist that wants to marry Marianne in order to be king. Oh, I'm sorry, was that a spoiler? I don't care. This movie doesn't earn my respect to keep its secrets. The best thing that I could say about these characters is that, as generic as they are, some are not really hateable per se. But that's the thing. I said some characters. There are others that can make you cringe for many different reasons.
Or someone even better.
Like how Roland is predictably bad. The Sugar Plum Fairy is annoying. Dawn is way too bubbly, so she's annoying too. The Fairy King is an absolute idiot. Bog King's minions are just not funny. The list goes on. It's kind of ironic that in a movie all about love, there are absolutely no characters in here that I love. In fact, I don't think there are any characters here that anyone can like. Wow! No wonder Disney tries so hard to disassociate itself with this, down to the point that they had to bring back the Touchstone Pictures banner to make sure no one would ever consider this a Disney film. Strange Magic is just horrible, that spreads more hate than love with one of the most terribly written stories in an animated feature, animation that's, although nice, completely unoriginal, a cast of very generic and sometimes irritating characters, and a random pile of musical numbers that just makes the film feel much longer than it should. Please, whatever you do, do not watch this film, unless you want to find out why love is such a stupid and disgusting thing. And that's the worst thing about this movie. After watching it, I just wanted nothing to do with love. I would probably go on a rampage if I ever saw one more pair of idiots giving each other affection for one another. I felt like the reason why I'm single is because I'm too smart to be in love. Although I would love to meet a beautiful lady one day, I just hope that it's not in a way that it would get itself the AniMat's seal of garbage like this movie.